The mess hall of the Valiant Crest hummed with the usual cacophony of a multi-species vessel at mealtime. Chittering, growling, and the occasional harmonic trill created a symphony of interstellar diversity. Nara stood at the end of the serving line, her stomach growling in harmony with the din around her. "Next," the server called, his four eyes barely glancing up from the dispensers. Nara stepped forward, tray extended. The Quellan server's antennae twitched as he finally registered her presence. His mandibles clicked in what she'd learned to recognize as distaste. "No," he said simply, his translator rendering the word with perfect, cold clarity. Nara blinked. "I'm sorry?" "Humans are under disciplinary rations. Captain's orders. You get emergency provisions only? Not full meals?" His upper appendages gestured dismissively toward a corner station where gray nutrient blocks sat in unappetizing stacks. Her jaw tightened. She'd heard nothing about disciplinary rations. The human contingent aboard the Valiant Crest numbered only 3, and they'd done nothing wrong. This was something else, prejudice wrapped in the thin veneer of protocol. "I'd like to see that order in writing," Nara said, keeping her voice level despite the heat rising in her chest. The Quellan's antennae flattened against his carapace. "Move along, human." "You're holding up the line." Behind her, someone huffed impatiently. Nara glanced back to see a mix of species Draken, Felinar, a towering Korthanol waiting with varying degrees of annoyance. No allies there. She was alone, as humans often were in the Galactic Coalition's service. With as much dignity as she could muster, Nara walked to the corner station, picked up 2 of the gray blocks, and moved toward the seating area. The blocks felt like compressed chalk in her hands. They'd sustain her, technically. They'd keep her alive. But after a 12-hour shift repairing the ships, quantum coupling arrays work that had saved them from dropping out of hyperspace into normal space radiation, she deserved better than this. The mess hall's tables were arranged by department and species preference. Nara found an empty spot near the viewports, where the streaked stars of hyperspace provided at least some visual comfort. She sat, placed the blocks on her tray, and stared at them. This was what it meant to be human in Coalition space. Tolerated but never quite accepted, useful but expendable. The newest species to achieve faster-than-light travel, still proving themselves to civilizations that had conquered the stars millennia ago. A small sound made her look up. A Felinar cub barely adolescent by their species' standards stood beside her table. The young one's tawny fur was still downy around the ears, and amber eyes studied Nara with unsettling intensity. "That's not food?" the cub said, nodding at the gray blocks. Nara managed a thin smile. "It's nutrition." "Close enough," the cub's tail lashed once, sharply. "My name is Tavy. You fixed the quantum array today." "I did. My mother said we would have died if you hadn't. She said the coupling would have failed completely in another hour." Tavy's ears flicked forward, a gesture of respect among their kind. "She said you crawled into the conduit without a safety tether because there wasn't time." Nara shrugged, uncomfortable with the attention. "It was necessary." Tavy stared at her for another moment, then turned and walked back to a table where a dozen other Felinar cubs sat together, the children of the ship's crew, taking their communal meal as their culture demanded. Nara watched as Tavy said something, gesturing back toward her. Then something extraordinary happened. Tavy picked up their plate still half full of grilled protein and roasted vegetables and walked back to Nara's table. Without a word, the cub tilted the plate and scraped its contents onto Nara's tray, beside the gray blocks. "Tavy, you don't have to—" But the cub was already walking away. And behind Tavy came another, then another. A procession of Felinar cubs, one by one, approached Nara's table and deposited portions of their meals onto her tray. Some gave half their portions. Others gave everything. Nara's throat tightened. "Please, you need to eat." "You're growing, you." A cub with darker fur and kind eyes placed a hand on Nara's shoulder. "We eat because you saved us. It is only right that we share with those who protect us." "This is the Felinar way," the adult Felinar at the cub's original table watched in silence. A few other species nearby had stopped eating, observing the unusual scene. The Quellan server at the line had gone very still. When the last cub returned to their seat, Nara's tray was piled high with food more than she could possibly eat. Real food, warm, aromatic, prepared with care. She looked across at the cubs' table, where they'd resumed their meal, their portions smaller, but their spirits seemingly undimmed. Tavy caught her eye and made a gesture with one paw of feliner salute of solidarity. Nara returned it, her hand moving in the unfamiliar pattern, and began to eat. The food was delicious, made more so by the meaning behind it. Around her, conversations had resumed, but there was a subtle shift in the atmosphere. Several adults at nearby tables were watching her with new consideration. The Quellan server had disappeared from the line entirely. As Nara ate, a Korthan engineer from her section stopped by her table, a massive being of crystalline structure and rumbling voice. "Human Nara," the Korthan said. "The children show us wisdom. I will speak with the captain about these disciplinary rations." "Thank you," Nara said quietly. The Korthan's facets glinted in the mess hall lighting. "No, thank you, for the repairs, for your courage," a pause, "for reminding us what it means to serve together." As the evening shift began filtering into the mess hall, word spread quickly about what had happened. By the time Nara finished her meal, 3 other humans aboard, the only others of her kind on the ship, had appeared, relieved from their duties. They sat with her, and this time, when they went through the line, the new server on duty gave them full portions without question. The cubs had taught the adults a lesson that day. That honor wasn't about species or seniority. It was about recognizing those who gave everything to protect others. It was about sharing with those who'd earned it through sacrifice and courage. And perhaps most importantly, they'd reminded everyone aboard the valiant crest that humanity young, scrappy, and still proving themselves among the stars deserved a place at the table. Nara looked out at the streaking stars and smiled. Maybe being human in coalition space wasn't about being tolerated. Maybe it was about being seen. Retriclod can make mistakes. Please double-check responses.